Okay, my name is Lydia Abel, Dr. Abel, and I think I've been in the NGO longer than some of you have been alive, so it was a very different world when I started working. And I was just telling Lance there that my first job at Kretzky Hospital was a research assistant. I was earning 200 Rand a month. And as for plotting a career, I think mine just jumped. I became a dietitian. Then I landed up teaching science in a college. And then I went to visit UCT one day because I couldn't understand why these darn kids couldn't learn what they were supposed to be learning. And I landed up doing a doctorate in cognitive education, which is education about thinking. So that's my background. Currently, I'm the director of Autism Cape. It's an NGO. And what we do is we try to get kids off the streets into enriching learning experiences. The majority of you guys have probably been in a fairly well-organized school. You've had extra lessons at some point in your life in English or in maths or in science or a whole host of things. And in fact, the extra lesson industry is one industry that's absolutely booming. There are more retired people giving extra lessons than anything else on the planet. So what's the reason? AUT is an organization that actually, it's the oldest still existing NGO in the world. Started in 1880 when Jews in Russia were not allowed to go to school, go to university or anything. They basically sat around on the pavement. They weren't studying the Bible and everything. That's what they did. Couldn't earn a living. And there were some wealthier Jews that didn't live in the Pale of Settlement who undertook to train these people with vocational skills. They taught them how to farm, they taught them how to sew, they taught them how to make clothes, to fix shoes, to build, all those kinds of things. And the reality is that the rise of the rag trade in America at the turn of the 1900s is attributed directly to the immigrants from Eastern Europe going to America with those kinds of skills because they formed the backbone of the American sweatshops at that time in history. AUT in Cape Town has a long history going back to 1936, but actually as a training organization and the focus on technology, it was commissioned to train teachers of technology when technology became a new subject in the South African curriculum in 1994, and Mandela graduated the first round of students. But that's the reality. You've got Campspan, you've got Khayelitsha. That's what we're dealing with. And there's a whole host of kids who live out in Khayelitsha who don't even have a hope of an education. And the reality is that they have a 1 in 40 chance of getting into school, passing matric with maths and science at a particular level which will enable them to get into a university, and actually graduating from university with a science or technology degree of some description. And that's a terrifying statistic for a country that actually needs people with a tech background of one description or another. So Jonathan Jensen, you probably all know, he wrote his book on how to fix the schools because that's obviously the entity where we need to change things. And we spend more on education in this country than any other African country. These are some of the things that he suggested, and that informs the work that we do. We try and extend the school day. We confront them with high expectations. We are teaching children in the townships to do things like robotics using Lego, computers. And we've had children come from orphanages who've never seen a computer before, and they sit down and they are so overwhelmed by the Lego that they can't move. The boys are standing like this because they're too scared to go to the toilet in case they miss something or they can't get finished. Okay, so we work from the background of ukulungisa, which is an African concept similar to Ubuntu, which means making things right, and the Jewish concept of tzedakah, which is a commandment to make things better. So here we are. These are some of our guys. And that's what we focus on. We've got after-school programs for enrichment, we do teacher training, and we are the only organization in South Africa that introduces real science and technology at ECD level. That's teachers being trained to look after children from 2 to 4 years, and grade R, which is the first year, the reception year of schooling. And then we try to make a difference through intervening in monitoring and evaluation in large-scale projects. And that's our reach. We actually, through the teachers, we hope this year to reach about 15,000 children. At the moment, last year it was 11,480 odd. Okay, so here we have one of our orphanages. This is an orphanage in Khayelitsha where children come to the center every day after school. We started working there in January 2013, and halfway through the second quarter, the principal of the orphanage phoned us to say, what must she tell the schools? They want to know what we're doing to the children, because all of a sudden they are different. They're putting up their hands in class, they're asking questions, they're doing their homework, they're asking for library books. So this is part of the reading program that we do with them, because these children get no intervention other than 35 minutes a day of a reading period with 60 kids in a class, so you can work out how often they get a chance to read. And we introduced the robotics. And the robotics is, well, for me, it's like a miracle. So I was interviewed, where's this thing gone? I was interviewed on Morning Live, so I don't need to talk, but you can hear the interview. And can you hear?
Robotics is actually amazing. I mean, it's been around for ages.
You can't get the sound.
It's not really that new. I mean, Lego produced blocks.
Okay. All right, sorry about that.
That's been around for years.
Okay, so
But
I'll just turn the sound down.
Is that you can build a robotics
Can you make it louder?
model and connect it up to a computer, program the computer to make your robot.
Sorry. Okay. Still not working.
Robotics is actually amazing.
There you go.
And it's been around for ages. It's not really that new. I mean, Lego produced blocks that people could build models out of, and that's been around for years, many years. But the changeover now is that you can build a robotics model and connect it up to a computer, program the computer to make your robot do things.
Yes.
And it cuts across language, and that's the issue, because science and maths have a language of their own, which has to be learned. But if you're not good at speaking the language in which science and maths take place, then you are on the back foot from the beginning. So it's very hard. But with robotics, the kids come in, they see the computer, they see the blocks, they can put them together, they can build something, and it changes their whole outlook on life. They go back to school, and suddenly teachers are telling us, they're putting up their hands, they're asking intelligent questions.
Yeah.
They are finding problems and finding the solutions to those problems. Even changes their behavior in the classroom. And it also changes their aspirations. And it's I want to say magical, but it's not magical.
Well, I mean, it sounds like it is, but how magical is it when we look at the country's rural areas, where, I mean, just to get a computer into a rural area is
a mission.
Almost impossibility.
Yeah. Look, it's a challenge. And certainly my organization, Autistic Cape, we are running after-school programs in schools where we're taking the robotics out into the rural areas, and we bus the kids in. We work out of the Cape Town Science Centre. So we bus kids into the Science Centre, and they come and they do morning workshops or afternoon workshops on weekends. We're open every day of the week and afternoons.
Yeah.
And we work closely with the Science Centre to make sure that this happens. So we do have a huge outreach program, getting robotics out there. It's not easy, and the robotics itself are really expensive, so we try to get funding to cover the costs of all of those things. That's what we do. And we've just invented an early childhood robot
Oh, brilliant.
which is for kids under the age of 6, because normally you don't do over the age of 6, which is a series of blocks, ordinary gewone wooden blocks that link together, and you've got stickers on the blocks which have codes which you can read with a reader, and that programs a little robot to go and turn, go forward and back and sideways and left and right. So the kids get the idea of putting instructions in sequence, which helps them with their reading, because they start to learn to read from left to right the way they're supposed to. And that words mean something, and that the words have a symbol. So they start to understand that you can, question you asked earlier, why X and Y? So X and Y represent things in maths, and they start to understand that the arrow going straight means going forward. The arrow that bends to the left means turn left. So they start to learn that words and symbols work together to produce a result.
Okay, so that's a little 3-year-old guy, and he's using a barcode reader. Not very sophisticated, but nevertheless, it does the job. Okay, so right, so this talk was called Rebranding the 3R's. So as most of you know, reading, writing, and arithmetic were the 3R's. But I really think that we have to have reading, reasoning, and robotics. Because if you leave out the reasoning, then nothing makes any sense. And the only thing that young children can do then is to learn stuff off by heart. So from the high-tech little robot, we've got probably something that's the lowest tech that you can get. It's made out of cardboard, but maybe one day somebody will make an app. It's got English on one side, Afrikaans on the other so far. It's got all the cognitive questions that you need to ask yourself or think about when you're reading, and it's a game. So what one hopes is that eventually the children will internalize those questions and they won't need the little thing. And we've got a fantastic partnership with Stellenbosch University and University of Cape Town. These students come in and they act as mentors and trainers of the robotics, and they were wanting these wheels for themselves because they're saying, you know, when they first encounter papers that they have to go and analyze and write about, they don't even know where to start. So this is for during reading and during writing, and it's also got colors around the sides, which is based on De Bono's thinking hats. I don't know if you know that, so you change your hats and you look at questioning and clarification and creative questions and positive questions and how does the text make you feel. And those all give you tools with which to analyze texts or stories, but if you can also use the questions to analyze textbooks. So that's the other end of what we do. So that's us. So, any questions? There you go. Andla, yeah.
So it's fine. Quick question. I mean, right now you're still based in Cape Town. Any plans of how to be looking at other provinces as well?
Yeah, we'd love to. We tried to do something in the Eastern Cape, but it's, you know, working at a distance is really a challenge. So I think we want to find our feet first here in the Western Cape, and as I said on the video, we do go out quite far. We work out in Stellenbosch and Wellington. We've got 11 schools stretching across the winelands. We've introduced the robotics in those schools, so we're starting, but I hope we'll be able to grow to other areas. I'd love to do it in Joburg. I mean, we need to make it happen. So we've got a visitor there, Tulani, who does coding in where are you? In Khayelitsha? Gugulethu, I asked you just now. And Mandla, who's from Pretoria, Joburg, so yeah, maybe it'll happen.
What would be a small, inexpensive step for just about anybody to make a difference?
Okay.
For example, because I'm sure that it's taken many steps to get to where you are today.
You mean to start working in an NGO and make a difference?
Yeah.
Well, We get a lot of volunteers. I mean, we try to facilitate that with volunteers and work with organizations that are out there, but there are many organizations, especially in the Western Cape, and not so many in the rest of the country, but there are several, and I think, you know, they can come to me and I can direct them what their interest is. But Mandla, for example, teaches coding on a Saturday in his community, so I mean, that kind of thing can happen, and I think it's about reaching out and not being scared to speak to people. But if we don't start teaching young children how to think and reason, then, you know, we really need to get to them. I mean, I'm happy if people want to, if you can contact me. I think we're going to do a demonstration of the robotics upstairs, and the cards and things are up there. So if you want to get in touch with us, we can certainly help place you somewhere. Yeah. Look, we're a very small organization. We're roughly 8, 9 actually now full-time people, and about 40 mentors and volunteers. So our statistics aren't very good, but I mean, we've created, in our own organization, we've created 5 technology jobs. So we've taken 3 ladies who were cleaners. They are now teaching robotics. One guy who didn't get a very good matric repeated his matric with us, and he's now studying office management, but he does the computers as well. And the reality is that he's training the UCT mentor students, the engineering students that come from UCT. He trains them. And they phone him and ask him questions, and you go figure how that works. Those statistics come from the matric results. There was a study done about 3 years ago, so they're not my statistics. But this does make a difference. We know the feedback, the anecdotal feedback that we've got, like from that orphanage. There are several instances of that. We've set up a centre in Hermanus and one in Saldanha and one in Clanwilliam is going to be set up now. So it can happen. You know, it just needs the will. The thing is that Lego is really expensive. And if you've got to supply computers and a kit, and, you know, you're looking at probably 50,000 Rand to just do a small scale setup. But there are people doing it. There's a thing called the Department of Coffee where they're training young men to be coffee makers, what do you call it? Baristas. But they've now introduced the robotics there because they find it helps them to do the team building and the collaboration and things like that. So we trained them, they went off and they bought their own stuff. So, and it doesn't only have to be robotics, as long as it's not mindless stuff. And I mean, it's great that people train children to do singing and dancing and drama. That only makes a career for very few people. So, sorry. Did I hear somebody else? Thank you.
We have kids in our classes as people that do robotics by.
Yeah.
And from my experience, that one weekend we did about 60 to 80 days at the church, and I feel that those who attend with us and attend robotics as well, I've seen the difference in them because how they grasp the concepts and how they improve. And even the 10-year-old just did an app in my Saturday morning class, learned it out and received several hours. That boy has a brainstorm at home, and it practices. So my bringing that up is to say that it's the difference in kids who code and at the same time do robotics.
Robotics, yeah. Okay, so I don't know if you heard what Mandla said, that the kids who do robotics and come to him for coding do far better than those who just come to him to do the coding. One of our trainers, sorry to answer your question from before, one of our trainers won the first Lego League competition with his team in 2008 when he was at Wallerstein High School in Kraaifontein. He's now comes to us every Sunday and he does training, and he also runs a science club at his school, and he's third year mechatronics at CPUT. So, you know, it does have an influence. It definitely does. And we've had other kids who've come back to say, thank you, you know, it helped me with this or it helped me with that. So, yeah. It's not one of these, I think the in thing in education now, these randomized large-scale trials. And you can't do robotics like that because it's a really personal thing. And you have to have the kids working in a hands-on way. So, and what we found, we got a donation of, the big blocks of Lego, the Duplo, got a donation from Lego of 25 boxes, and we gave them to the teachers that we've trained now who are looking after grade R children, teaching grade R. And the guy wanted, he donated them, another man transported them, and he said, please can't we have some pictures when you open the boxes? And what happened was when we opened the box, kids came, they looked inside the box, shrugged their shoulders, and they walked off. They didn't even know what it was. They weren't even curious enough to actually dig in and see what it was. So that's what you're dealing with. And if we don't get them from the very bottom, I mean, there's this new thing now to take grade 8 and 9 maths teachers out of school for a day. Kind of boggles the mind. But yeah, I mean, I know they're desperate to do something, but if they don't address it down at the bottom, it's never going to change.
Are your lesson plans and whatnot available online so that we can help contribute or help improve the lessons over time?
We don't deal directly with the kids' lesson plans. What we do is we offer them extra lessons, or if they want to come and ask questions, then the mentors are available for them. The Lego, we pretty much follow the book. And once the kids are au fait with that, then they do their own thing. Then they don't want our lesson plans. Then they want to do their own thing. Yeah. Sorry, there was a hand back there somewhere. I can't see where it is now. Okay. All right. Yep. Sorry? Yeah, if you could come up with an answer to that, I would love to hear it. You know, Lego should be, I mean, they have a really, am I allowed to say that? They have a really bad reputation in NGO activist circles because they actually do precious little, to help people. They give us a bit of a discount, and that's as far as it goes. We've spoken to the foundation. I mean, Maersk is a Danish company. They should be working together to help, but it's like talking to the wall a bit. So we hope that we'll change their mind. I mean, they can't believe where we have taken the Lego. They just are gobsmacked because they've been trying to sort of broaden their reach. We had a contract with the National Association of Childcare Workers. That's where I broke my ankle. I went to a training session in September. We trained 100 of their facilitators. They run safe parks. So they gather the children there after school, which is really nice, but they weren't actually doing anything with the children. So we trained their trainers to do the reading and the robotics and perceptual skills and math skills. And I mean, they're just over the moon. And we gave them the robotics and the computers and the whole catastrophe. We've got it funded. So, it's going places, but they're not really coming to the party. My ladies are coming just now with some kids, and they're going to do a demonstration upstairs at the end of where the lunch is. So I'll go there. If there are any other questions, I'll go and wait there for a bit, and you can come and chat to me. Okay, thank you.
No come electo por la vida.